Hey guys, it's Caroline. Thanks for joining me here today. I wanted to jump on quickly and talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. And this is one of the most important transitions that people make in their careers, which is the transition from skilled doer to empowering leader. It was certainly one of the biggest shifts that I struggled with most in my career. I see other people struggle with it every day. And so I wanted to give you just a few ideas as a starting point to start to bridge this transition for yourself to make it smoother and hopefully a lot more fun along the way. So let's talk first about how we get here. And so for many of us, we start our careers and start building a reputation based on being skilled doers. Oftentimes we deliver to a certain level of quality, a certain standard of excellence. Maybe we even become known for executing and solving problems that other people couldn't. And so this really becomes part of our work identity. And actually for a lot of people, it extends beyond their work identity because this is how they built their academic careers, right? Being responsible from everything from start to finish on a certain project and being able to control all those details until they ultimately deliver to a certain level of quality. So that's how we got here. So let's talk about the big shift to start making. And it's hopefully easy to understand intellectually, harder to put into practice. So let's start first with the intellectual piece and then we can talk about how to put it into place. So the intellectual shift to make is to shift away from the goal and delivery of the goal as your primary focus and shift it to supporting your team. So I don't mean to suggest that you're no longer responsible when you go into work to deliver. We're all there at work for a reason. We have to deliver on our goals. I'm just suggesting that it is no longer the primary focus. Maybe it's a balanced budget. Maybe it's a big event that you have to pull off. Maybe it's a really marquee project. That is no longer your primary concern. Your primary concern is now your team and supporting them in any way they need to reach that goal. So you're still ultimately all getting to the goal. You're just shifting your focus from widgets to people. So that's the mindset shift. And let me just explain for a moment. When I talk about supporting people, I'm not suggesting that it's all unicorns and rainbows and you're a cheerleader on the sidelines. Supporting your people sometimes means that you have tough conversations, that you give direct feedback, that you have frank conversations about not meeting expectations and what you guys need to do collectively to work towards a solution. And of course, it's different for every person. So support means helping them be successful. And that is obviously a different formula for each person. Okay, so now that we've talked about the shift, let's talk about some really practical ways to put this into place. Number one, communicate your vision. Help make sure your team understands not only where you guys are getting to and what the end result is, but how that fits into the larger piece of the organization as a whole, and then where their roles and their components fit into that. So let's have a shared vision of where we need to get to together. This is also the time, by the way, to share any specific ideas you have about how it gets done. Maybe there are some specific relationships that you really have a strong viewpoint on how that relationship should be managed, certain deadlines you want to hit, whatever. Now is the time at the outset and throughout to make sure that people understand those stakes in the ground. I see some people in an effort to not micromanage leave things too wide open. I certainly fell into this trap more than once. We say, hey, do it however you want, when actually we do have opinions about certain things. And so it's important if you do have those opinions, which is also okay, by the way, because you are a leader. And part of why you are leading is because you have perspectives and opinions, whether they're objectively right or wrong. The goal is to have one. It's okay and it's important actually to communicate them to people because leaving things too wide open just sets everyone up to fail and to be frustrated and confused when they come to you thinking that they have free reign when actually, no, you had a very specific opinion about how something should be done. So that's number one, communicating your vision and putting those stakes in the ground. The second one is to, as much as possible, let go of the how. So for as much of the how you get to that end goal, let go. Let your team figure out the way that works for them. This is important for a couple different reasons. Number one, we talk about innovation and empowering, and yet day to day, we end up trying to micromanage all the details. Don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. Let them get there however they want to get there. Oftentimes you'll find that their opinion, even though it might not line up with how you would do it, is actually better. Or opens up a new way of thinking, or actually points out some flaws in the actual approach that you had. So short of those deal breakers that are really, really important to you that you laid out in step one, let go of the how. The third step is probably where I see people fall down the most, because let's say that you have communicated a clear vision, you've let go of as much of the how as you possibly could, and then stuff starts to go off the rails. Stuff starts to go a little bit wrong. And so the first instinct for people, especially making this transition initially, their instinct is to dive right back into the details as if they were an individual contributor and doing it themselves. Resist this urge. And a way to think about this is when that happens, you are prioritizing the success of the objective or the project over success of your team. And again, back to that overarching mindset shift, your team is the most important thing. And so rather than trying to evaluate yourself on, do we actually deliver this widget? Evaluate yourself on, am I building a happy, healthy team that has room to grow, that communicates clearly, that supports each other, and all of the other values that you want to instill and use as foundations for the culture that you're trying to make. So separate your association and your identity from the project and focus instead on what you're trying to create with the team. So those are my overarching mindset shift and the 3 steps in putting it into place. I would love to hear your feedback. What have you tried and what's worked for you? What do you still have questions with? And what else would you add to this list? Thanks for watching. Bye.